fuck you, asshole. You homophobic redneck dick. Big and tough and macho, you can kick my ass. So fucking what? So fucking.
To another edition of the Florida State Simulcast. It's my Clemson reaction. I am back in town. I actually got back yesterday, but yesterday was pretty much a wash because I was fucking hungover, running on like hardly any drunk sleep. Anyways, the game itself, the atmosphere was great in the stadium. I wish I was in the student section though, even though I'm old as hell now. The student section, if you've never sat in it at any college stadium, is so much fun. They're into it every play during big games. But alas, I wasn't. But it was still a good crowd. It was packed. The video boards, or the video board, I should say, was just incredible. It was so clear. It was ridiculous. The Champions Club looked sweet with the huge spears hanging over, which I was like sitting right next to those. And well, the game was entertaining as shit. It was a great game, a back and forth affair. I expected Clemson to blow us out, and I'm sure if any of you FSU fans were being truthful, being honest with yourselves, that you probably thought Clemson was going to dominate. And I was one of those people, but they didn't. It was a close game. It was entertaining as hell. Ups and downs. You know, 1 minute I'm cursing, the next minute I'm screaming, watching Cook run down the sideline. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. Digging into the game, just trying to look back at what actually happened. Because when you're at the game, it's totally different from TV, of course. Like your perspective is different. You miss a lot of stuff when you're actually in the stands. It becomes a blur sometimes. But I've looked at the stats finally, and then just going off memory of the game. The offense, I guess I'll start with them. It was the Dalvin Cook show yet again. He was awesome. Francois, not very good. Completed 49% of his passes, and quite frankly, missed a number of open receivers. However, some of the blame has to go on that offensive line. You knew it was going to be a tall order. Clemson's defensive line is very good, but that doesn't excuse the poor pass protection. Doesn't completely excuse it. Apparently, Francois was under duress or under pressure for about 35% of the passing snaps. That's not going to get it done. I'm surprised he didn't get killed. The run blocking, as usual, was decent, was solid. Cook did his thing, but that O line, and I've defended Trickett quite a bit. There are some people that just have wanted him gone forever because there's been some years where the offensive line play has been down. They're like, just get rid of him. And I pointed that he's sent linemen to the NFL. His linemen have gotten rewards. Not rewards. Fuck me. Awards. And they've won a ton of games. And you really can't do that with poor offensive line play every year. But I'm getting near the point where I am over. I am fucking over the false starts. I am done with it, man. This is what, week 9? And then the last drive, 2 false starts in a row. In a row. Francois gets killed right up the middle on the last drive. It's a sack, and it turns into whatever it was, 4th and 32, where just a few plays earlier, they were basically in field goal range almost. Like, I am done with that fucking buffoonery, okay? Brock Rubel can go to fucking hell. It's like, god damn. Now, I know a part of it, and I've mentioned this before, is how plays aren't snapped till like the play clock's under 10 seconds. And I know it's probably hard to squat for 20, 25 seconds. But at the same time, this is week 9, so shouldn't they almost be used to that bullshit by now? I'm over the fucking dumb penalties on the offensive line. Speaking of penalties, the refs were absolutely horrible from my vantage point. I'm just hyper focused here on FSU. I'm sure Clemson fans could probably point to some calls, but right now what sticks out in my mind is FSU's calls or horrible calls. I mean, ACC refs, I guess I should not be surprised. What's one of them right off the bat? Fourth quarter, the chop block. Cook broke like a 30 or 40-yard run on a bullshit ass chop block call, which brought it back. The guy, if memory serves, was hit like around the thighs, and then he kind of just fell back or fell down, and then the flag was thrown. Mind you, the flag was thrown at the line of scrimmage, despite the fact that the play occurred 5 to 10 yards down the field. How the fuck do you throw that flag from your vantage point? Forget the fact that it didn't appear to be a chop block in the slightest. Secondly, a couple PI calls, and I'm not one that's always like PI constantly. It's a PI every time a defensive back breathes on my receiver. But I remember a couple borderline jump balls, basically, where the defensive back is just like hand fighting with the FSU receiver, and just ref sitting right there. No call, none whatsoever. And Jimbo's blasted the refs, and he hasn't really done that. He's usually just mum is the word, but he let loose, and I don't fucking blame him. There were some absolutely atrocious fucking calls in that game. Is that why they lost the game? No. They still had a chance to win, despite all that bullshit. But they imploded and fucking shed all over themselves that final drive, and they wound up losing. But the calls had to be brought up. I had to talk about those for at least a minute. Absolutely horse shit. Just garbage. Moving over to the defense. I'm not going to rant and rave about the defense anymore. They are what they are, which is to say, not very fucking good. Like the only time I was frustrated during the game is the bad calls by the refs, and usually the offensive line like buffoonery. The offense, that was the only time I was really getting annoyed. I expect the defense. There's no point in me yelling about the defense sucking anymore. But the offense, I actually expect them to actually do something good. Like there's hope that they do something good on a particular play. And so when they fucked up, that's when I got mad. But the defense, it was funny. Me and my buddy sitting next to each other in the stands, we're remarking how wow, the defense has made some stops. And they did. Like they they put the D line put some pressure on Clemson's offensive line. They really did. They got some tackles for loss, got some sacks, forced a couple turnovers. But then you look at the box score at the end of the game, and Clemson still put up over 500 yards. Now, the biggest difference between FSU's D going up against Clemson and Clemson's D going up against FSU's, and pretty much both offensive lines I thought got pushed around a little bit, was that Clemson has Deshaun Watson. Okay? He's able to scramble, make plays, make those ridiculous throws. And Francois just not there yet. He's not first of all, he's not the talent that Watson is, but secondly, he doesn't have the experience. He can't read a defense as quickly, so that's the huge difference. One team has Watson, the other team didn't. I mean, he had what, 370, 80 yards passing? Ah, like I said, the ending was frustrating, but I got my money's worth in that game. That was just a fun, entertaining game to watch. What else? I'm gonna go back to the offense for a second. The play calling. Every fan's got a bitch about the play calling. Cook didn't get the ball enough. Now I realize some games the script unfolds where you have to pass more than you run. But FSU was trailing Clemson, you know, by a 14-point margin, but that didn't last long. So it's not like they were trailing by double digits for long periods of time where they just no. They didn't have to throw more than they ran, but they did. Cook had 160, 70 yards rushing on 19 attempts. So he's just basically raping the defense, just fucking them up. How do you not give him more than 19 carries? He should have had at least 25 carries. Instead, you have Francois sit behind an offensive line that couldn't pass protect, I don't know, my ass, and expect that redshirt freshman to like just sit back there and pick a defense apart. Meanwhile, you got Cook just running roughshod all over the Clemson defense, and he's under 20 carries for the game. That made no fucking sense to me whatsoever. And secondly, back to Francois. I mean, there were moments where why didn't he why didn't he check down a little more? I think in the fourth quarter, maybe it was the last drive. I can't remember. Cook just chilling out there in the on the towards the sideline, like on a swing pass type deal. Like it's okay to check it down when that guy is number 4. Okay, he can take that little quick pass and turn it into something huge. Now Cook did drop that long ball, which was accurately thrown, which was a huge play, obviously. But there's too many times where it's like, dude, you got Cook over there just chilling, just chilling. Anyways, I'm gonna wrap it up. Entertaining game, really disappointing finish. Trickett, you're on like my on like you have like strike 2. You're one more strike and you're fucking out, man. It's just the penalties are driving me nuts. I'm over the false start horse shit. I'm fucking over it. It's just like enough's enough at some point. I can only defend you so much, but if it keeps going, like I want progression. That's what you want to see. I realized the true freshman had to step in at right guard, and then you had to switch right tackle a few games into the season. This is week 9 now. I really haven't seen the type of like progression in as far as like being disciplined. You know, physically, at moments, the offensive line has played better. Physically, I mean, going up against Clemson's great defensive line, I thought physically they held their own for the most part, except, of course, for a third of their pass protection plays. But the mental errors, that's when I start thinking of coaching. The mental errors. Why are these cocksuckers false starting on this many times? Hell, penalties in general. Let's move away from the offensive line. 13 penalties in this game. How are you going to beat a top 5 team in the country when you commit 13 penalties? It's not going to happen. It's almost impossible to beat a top 5 team when you commit that many goddamn penalties. Having said that, where do they go from here? I don't know. Just try not to let this implode and let this loss turn into 2 or 3 more and finish 7-5 or some bullshit. Try and win out. Salvage what's left. If they finish 9-3, yes, that is very disappointing season considering the expectations heading into this season. But hey, got to right the ship. You beat Florida at the end of the year. That takes a little sting off the disappointment, but it still sucks that this team is just a far cry from what they could have been. Oh, and speaking of Florida, there weren't any Florida fans at the game really, but some fans were like, "Oh, I guess we're gonna lose to Florida now too." I'm like, "Have you seen Florida?" Okay, yeah, the Noles have 3 losses. The Gates have 1. A team being better than the other isn't judged by necessarily by just losses. Okay, let's look a little deeper than that. Who the fuck has Florida played? Moreover, who the fuck have they beaten that's worth a dog shit? Nobody. Okay? I will take this retarded, redheaded stepchild version of FSU Thanksgiving weekend at Doak versus Florida. I'm not guaranteeing any fucking wins or anything, but I'm not suddenly, oh, we have 3 losses now. UF has 1. I'm scared that UF's gonna blow us out or something. No, I expect FSU to be the favorite in that game, according to Vegas or whoever, and I would not be shocked if FSU won that game at home. Florida's what they have been for like 6 years in a row. All defense, hardly any fucking offense. Del Rio is like, if there's a stamp that I could make to put on his fucking forehead, it would just say mediocre in big bold letters. He's not that great. He's just not. All right. So you FSU fans that think, oh, woe is me. We lost another one. There's no way we're beating Florida because they're ranked, whatever they're ranked now. I don't even know. If anyone knows that this is fool's gold, people, the SEC East is a dumpster fucking fire. I mean, hey, if I was a Florida fan, I'll take the W's, of course. Why wouldn't you? But I think in their heart of hearts, they know this is fool's gold. Okay, they're not a legit playoff contender. If they hold on to the East, chances are it's going to be a repeat of last year. They're going to go to Atlanta, and Alabama's going to smoke the fuck out of them. But hey, we won our division. Okay, cool. You won the retarded college football division. Great. So step back from the ledge, Knowles fans. If you're hanging your hopes in the season on FSU beating Florida, you should still be hanging on to that. It's it's pretty realistic. FSU could still beat Florida. I mean, I don't know why these people were tripping. Like you can't worry about the Florida matchup because FSU's lost to such. No, the matchup is something totally independent. It doesn't matter who Florida's beat right now, who FSU's beat or lost. No, just wait for the game and don't just watch a Florida game and your worries will dissipate. You're like, oh, FSU should hang with them and probably beat them at home. Anyways, I gotta run. This went way too long. If you're first time visitor to this channel, please feel free to subscribe. This has been another Florida State Simulcast. I'm out.